The first Dark Souls game may be one of the greatest games ever made, if not the best. I'm serious. By consensus, Dark Souls has been decided as the ultimate game of all time. Although it's not my favorite game, being a close second, it still had a very profound impact on me in a time in my life where I really needed it most. And I'm not the only person to make a video about my own experiences with depression and how it's related to Dark Souls. I mean shit, I'm not even the first person named Jacob to make a video like this. How could a video game about eternal dragons, an age of fire, and skeletons with swords and shields provide such a therapeutic experience for some? Before I get into that, let's talk about the... In the Age of Ancients, the world was dark, stagnant, and shrouded by fog, a land of everlasting dragons. That was until fire came to be. As with fire came light and dark, warmth and cold, life and death, and disparity. From the flame the lords obtained their lord souls. Nito, the first of the dead, the Witch of Izalith and her daughters of chaos, Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight and his faithful knights, and lastly, the furtive pygmy, forgotten to time. With the strength of these souls, they waged war against the everlasting dragons. Gwyn using the power of lightning to peel their stone scales apart, the witches creating firestorms burning the arch trees, Nito unleashing death and disease, and Seath, the Scaleless, a dragon who betrayed his own, revealing their weakness to lightning to Gwyn. From there, the dragons were no more. From there began the Age of Fire. But flames die, and soon only dark will remain. Now there are only embers left of the first flame, and humanity sees not light, but eternal nights. And it's up to you, the chosen undead, to either sacrifice yourself into the first flame and continue the cycle, or to let it fade and usher in a new age of darkness. Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds very depressing. How could that be found as something comforting to those with depression? And that's exactly what I thought. Until I hit the point in my life where I was the most depressed I had ever been. I first played Dark Souls back in 2012 when I was a kid, and I just hated it. I couldn't get past Undead Burg, the game was too hard, the controls were too delayed, the bosses were too hard, I didn't know where to go, there were no objective markers. My 12-year-old Call of Duty poisoned mind couldn't take it. So it always just kinda sat in that part of the room where there are the games that are considered great and masterpieces when I just couldn't understand why. My third semester of college was a rough one. I was horrifically depressed, feeling insignificant, feeling like my main passion in life wasn't one worth pursuing. For one of my class projects, I produced a short film, The Note, about a suicide note I wrote when I was 16 but never finished, which, looking back on it, I feel was born from a subconscious desire to finish it. I bought Dark Souls Remastered on my PS4 just to see if maybe it was just age that didn't make it work for me. That just so happened to be the day we were setting up for a video game night on campus, where people would come in, set up their consoles in the student center, and then someone would hook up their Switch to the theater projector, and we'd play Smash on the big screen. It was awesome. But as the night wound down, and it was just 5 dudes who were already friends playing their own games on their consoles, I started playing Dark Souls. I started the game as I always did when I tried to like it. I killed the Asylum Demon, left the Asylum, only to feel that same where do I go feeling I always had with the game. Until my buddy leans over and says, "Have you rung the first bell yet?" I didn't know there was a bell. He led me through Undead Burg into the Taurus Demon fight. I had never experienced that fight up to that point, and after that boss, the switch flipped for me. I needed more. 2 other friends of mine joined in, watching me fight my way to the gargoyles and ring the first bell of awakening. I knew then on I was in too deep, and I finally understood the appeal of the game. The overall tone of Dark Souls is very dark, if you couldn't tell. The sky of Lordran stays the same smoggy gray throughout. Characters you encounter are often exhausted, downtrodden, or in a quandary of their own quests and goals independent of your own. And that's not to say the game is a forever boringly gray depression fest. The game has a large overarching theme of hope. NPCs understand your role in the grander narrative may be unrealistic, but remain optimistic of your success. Behind the gray overcast clouds, the sun shines through and sends brilliant shafts of light through. The beautiful transition from the overgrown Great Hollow into Ash Lake. And these small motifs reinforce that feeling that you truly are the chosen undead, and that your actions genuinely are larger than helping a fellow adventurer in need to help you along your quest. You truly feel like an integral part of a prophecy foretold long ago. I need to preface all my analyses by saying everything I say should be taken with a grain of salt, and is mostly based on my own personal experiences with the media, as well as my own affinity for overanalyzing things. Dark Souls as a game in and of itself has made a very profound impact on a lot of people within its community, and all in the same vein. The game spoke to a certain subsection of its fan base who felt depressed, suicidal, or just genuinely lost and felt a therapeutic sense of self-understanding. I'm not trying to say Dark Souls is the magical cure to depression, but rather was an unwitting tool to those who needed it most. My belief, based on my own experiences with the game, is that the narrative creates on the surface a relatably depressive atmosphere that certainly appealed to my own coping methods with my mental health. Many people who are experiencing certain emotions often engage in media that can relate to those emotions, and the inverse being engaging in media that helps one escape from those feelings. It's not entirely uncommon, and you yourself might engage in this phenomenon in subtle ways. The mundanity of life might start getting a little boring, so you decide to pop in your favorite fantasy or sci-fi movie. You might have gone through a nasty breakup, so you hit play on your favorite Midwest emo album. The human mind loves being able to relate to people, ideas, and concepts. It's an evolutionary trait and makes us the social beings we are. And with the combination of the oppressive atmosphere and each character having their own interesting depressive backstory, comforts the player in a way that other fantasy titles can't. The manga Berserk is a great example of this as well, and it's no coincidence at all that Dark Souls is heavily inspired by it. Now my goal with this is to keep this video as spoiler-free as possible. However, this point in my analysis has slight spoilers if you do care. Although the game has these beautiful motifs of hope and grandiose purpose, the overall story and lore that you experience throughout the game, if anything, proves the opposite. Your role in the story by the late game, in particular when you meet Frampt and Koth, is ultimately futile in your decision. While your decision in the end of the game has grand consequences, you won't really see these consequences come to fruition. You either link the first flame, finding yourself consumed into it to continue the Age of Fire, or leaving it to smolder and burn out to usher in the new Age of Darkness. But that is the game's genius at work. The ultimate story and lore of the game is so deeply embedded into the world that you can finish the game and not even know what the game was truly about. But by then you've already loved the game and immediately get on YouTube, slap on some body video, and learn for yourself the true beauty of Dark Souls. Dark Souls is a unique experience that on its own can prove that dark fantasy can be insanely impactful just in its depictions of mature themes, and providing players with a sense of hope yet a dreadful feeling of futility simultaneously. And seeing the impact that the game has had on a niche microcosm of gamers is one that I don't think anyone, not even FromSoft, could have predicted. But as someone who has had a very personal connection with the game and how it helped me through one of the darker points in my life, we couldn't be happier that it did. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. I apologize for the general lack of details pertaining to the game itself, as I was trying to keep this video as spoiler-free as possible. I would be extremely interested to make a more detailed analysis in the future for people who have already experienced the game, but I just wanted to keep it sacred for those who have yet to play it. This is my first quote-unquote real video of which I'm taking seriously, so I genuinely hope that you enjoyed it. I'd love to make more, not just for anyone who may enjoy the content, but just as a creative outlet in general. I started a Patreon page just for anyone who is willing to and able to support the content in that manner. Of course, there is no expectation set, but the true dream is to have the support in any form to help me use this outlet in the way I would like to. I say in any form, mind you. To anyone who this video spoke to and helped you relate and understand your own feelings with the game, I truly hope this video finds you well and that the future is so incredibly bright for you. My name is Jacob, and you all have a great day.